Hello, everybody. Welcome to our September webinar. This is going to be about business models for clinical research sites. First of all, we need to start seeing questions in the chat room. Give us questions, and because we don't need to follow the script, if you see something, and if you're called in, there's no way you can unmute yourself. But if you are, most people are logged in with computer. So chat, okay? Hit me up in the chat. Let's see what questions we can answer. I got Chris here. How's it going, Chris?
Oh, it's going.
And let's get started, okay? Business models for clinical research sites. This is a topic that is very near and dear to my heart.
It is.
Connecting, but we're coming back. Okay, how to locate peeps to preview CTA and budget. Can you translate this, Chris? It says how to locate peeps to preview CTA and budgets. You mean people to negotiate?
So it's one of two things, right?
That peep is Chris.
How do you get CTA and budgets?
Yes.
Right, that could be what they're asking.
Mm-hmm.
Which is...
No, she said yes. So it's basically looking for people to negotiate contracts and budgets.
Which
Give them the pitch. Give them the pitch. We normally save the pitch for the end. Give them the pitch now.
Okay, the pitch. So we offer a service, a client service. We have a number of clients throughout the country that are already taking us up on our service. Basically, we do anything that can be done remotely for you. We'll prepare your source documents. Most importantly, we'll work on your business development and negotiate your budgets and contracts. Those are the two biggest things. But pretty much anything that can be done remotely, we will handle for you. Provide you with SOPs, take phone calls all the time from clients and help them with any problems they encounter. Whatever it is you might need. But again, the two services that are most important are business development, bringing studies to your site, and negotiating your budgets and contracts. And I think we do a good job with both of those aspects. So
we do a fantastic job. Great. Can we schedule a meeting the second week in October? Yes, we can. Email me. These webinars are great. They're driving business. Yeah, absolutely. We're going to provide so much value for you. You will not want to ever hire anyone to do this because we can do the budgets for you, right? And it works for us too because we're trying to build a network of sites across the country. Connecting that we can work with as we evolve into CROs and pharma companies. So thank you. We did the pitch at the beginning. Most webinars do that now. We never do. We're the anti-sellers, okay? So this is all about business models, so keep your chat questions coming at any time. As soon as I see one, I will interrupt what I'm doing and answer your question, unless I'm on a roll. So business models for clinical research sites. There are many, and this is definitely not all-encompassing, okay? There's different hybrids and variations of all these, but these are the most common models. So let's go through it. Things to take into consideration, all right? Employee workload. In most sites, would you agree with this, Chris? Coordinators are the bottleneck. Amy did great slides again.
Yes and no. I mean, yes, of course, that can be the case. If you have a lot of incoming work, and you have limited resources as far as help in terms of coordinators, then of course, that could be a bottleneck. I mean, there's other bottlenecks too, though. Mm-hmm. Lack of studies, right?
Lack of studies is going to be a huge bottleneck, but this I think assumes that you can get studies, right?
Sure.
So in most sites, as far as conducting the trial, I would agree. I think coordinators are the bottleneck.
Sure.
I mean, you can't give a coordinator 100 studies.
Oh, of course not.
Right? But there's a number. There's a limit. And then you've got to hire another one. And then eventually your clinic evolves from a small mom and pop into a mid-sized clinic. And if you want to take it further, it goes into a large clinic, like a mega clinic.
Sure.
Right? And then, of course, there's the universities and the academic institutions which start big. You Say it again. You have a question. Okay.
So it may be covered in the slides here. I haven't previewed the slides. So at what point, how many coordinators do you think would define a large clinic? What's the minimum?
I think there's a slide. So let's save that.
Okay.
Yeah, because I don't want to say something else. A large clinic, I think, is...
Okay, how many studies a year?
More than 40.
40 studies a year or more?
Yeah. Like universities, I came back from this Viva Summit.
Mm-hmm.
Temple University, which is out there in Philadelphia. I mean, not a big university, not a small one.
Mm-hmm.
They do 1,000 trials a year.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
Most of
they're
them
not all industry.
Initiated.
They're not all industry sponsored. A lot of them are grants through the NIH, but still, it's the same work.
Sure.
You got coordinators, you got data entry.
Sure.
So you can see why for those people, things like eReg and eSource are important. We talked to Michelle Cohen from Mount Sinai in New York, right? They thrive on, we visited her. We ate at a...
And she had something like 10 coordinators, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Right.
But in her department. Right? But that's not the entire Mount Sinai.
Right.
This, when I said Temple, I'm talking about their entire network.
Right. Which
now a lot of these universities partner with private clinics to do like off-site clinics. So that's part of their network too. Okay. But I would say for what a mega site or a large site would be 40 or more. Another question, what is the typical coordinator? It's a study coordinator. Study coordinator is what we're talking about. Sorry. Study coordinator, clinical research coordinator, CRC coordinator. These all mean the same thing. Okay. Okay, so employee workload. This is one of the things you've got to manage. 1 hour per patient visit is about 4 hours of paperwork. On average, one coordinator can handle 4 to 7 studies. Now, I've heard some.
I think that's a little high.
That's high because you're in the world of CNS.
Sure, but I think active studies. She might be referring to Amy, who prepared the
total,
slides,
yeah, maintenance and everything.
Studies that are closing out, that kind of thing. But I think 3, maybe 4 actively enrolling studies the coordinator can handle.
Well, they're saying what is the typical coordinator to study ratio? So here it is. Okay, 1 coordinator per 4 to 7 studies. 4 active and 7 like in maintenance and active combined.
So let's take a general medicine study of some sort, right? It doesn't matter. Yeah. Diabetes type 2.
Which we never really see.
Right. But I've seen budgets for those. They're not all that involved, not compared to a CNS trial, which is very involved.
Yeah.
Right? Lots of work. But even with the type 2 diabetes trial, if you have 4 of those studies and 10 patients in each study, that's about all a coordinator is going to be able to handle. Right? You can't have 7 or 8 or 10 of those studies and expect one coordinator to handle that. There's just too much work.
Right.
Even in a simpler trial. Now, a coordinator can handle probably a dozen phase 4 trials.
More, maybe 20.
Yeah, it just depends on the type of trial.
Right. Really. We're just talking about your average run-of-the-mill study.
What's average run-of-the-mill? Phase 3, phase 2,
phase 4? 2 and 3. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, phase 2 and 3. I mean, there's 100,000 trials in the U.S.
Next time we use mine.
Yeah, we used a different laptop next time. There's 100,000 trials in the U.S. on clinicaltrials.gov every year.
Right.
So the vast majority of those are phase 2 and 3.
Right.
All right. So a PI or sub-I can oversee 10 or more studies. I know some PIs that do 50 studies. Right. So balance is key. Regardless of your site's size, there is always a sweet spot with consideration to how many studies or patients a site takes versus the site's efficiency. Coordinator A may not be as good as coordinator B. The quality may not be as good as coordinator B, and therefore the workload should be balanced appropriately, right?
You're probably gonna have some upset people, but sure.
Yeah, well, that's life.
Yeah, I would agree.
How would they be upset?
Well, I know if I'm coordinator B and I do a better job than coordinator A,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm more efficient,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm getting assigned double the workload
Mm-hmm.
because of that, what's my incentive to work so hard?
And that is the site director's job.
I understand.
We're going to get into that too.
Sure.
That is their job. That's your job. That's my job.
Right.
There's certain employees, not all employees are treated the same. There's some keepers, and I think someone's calling me. There's some keepers, and there are some that, I mean, without sounding harsh, you don't care whether they leave, right? And if they're that bad, you probably should get rid of them and not wait for them to leave. So there's bad employees, neutral. The bad ones you should fire. The neutral ones, you got to work with them, try to get them good.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's good and great, and those are the keepers.
Sure.
Okay, so balance is key. Every coordinator is different. Every site's different. Every company's different. Keep that in mind, okay? Site dynamics. As a site grows and as a site grows in size, it's important that certain dynamics shift to accommodate to scale and maximize efficiency if you want to grow. And some mom and pop physicians are perfectly happy doing 4 studies every year.
Sure.
Because that's not their main source of income. They're not looking to scale,
Yeah,
but they are looking to maximize efficiency.
It's an added revenue stream, and they really don't want to go out and expand.
Mm-hmm.
They're comfortable at the current workload.
I've had, at the Viva Summit, I've had a great conversation with a thought leader in this space, Dr. Kingsley from Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
He owns like 7 sites, maybe more, in Georgia, and I don't know the other state, but he's in the South. He is pushing, because his sites are amongst the best as far as quality. I'm going to take his word for it that they are. He's pushing for pay for performance rather than fair market value.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Hey, that's what I told him too. We're going to have a good debate / podcast on this soon.
Mm-hmm.
But he said something interesting, which you can't really argue with. Sites have no incentive to improve their quality.
It's not entirely true.
Okay, explain why.
Just because metrics are kept on sites, and
right.
if you're doing a poor job, the sponsors or CROs are less likely to come back to you.
So his argument is, even if you're doing a subpar job,
if you're enrolling well,
yes,
true. If you're doing a subpar job work-wise, data-wise,
right,
but you enroll very well,
yes,
yeah, they'll come back to you.
So let's take out the completely bad sites like fraud. Let's take out the completely bad sites, like the ones that do fraud. Mm-hmm. The ones, I mean, they're not in the equation, okay? But the mediocre, let's go subpar, mediocre, and then good and great. There really is not much of a difference as far as what they take home.
So if they all enroll well,
for the same study,
if they all enroll well, I would agree. Right?
So his argument is sites are disincentivized to invest in their infrastructure.
Well, yes. I mean, again, the crux of research for most sponsors and CROs is enrollment, right? But we actually have at one of our sites, we have an experience with this, right? And I won't name the sponsor, and I'm not going to name the site, but we enrolled well.
Please don't.
And we enrolled well, and they did put us on a screening hold, right?
Yeah, and we still got studies in the future.
We did.
That's exactly this guy's point. Like, why should anyone invest in improving their operations as long as they're efficient enough to keep screening subjects and they're okay with their numbers?
Not necessarily screening, but enrolling.
Enrolling. There's no incentive for them to improve quality, really. Other than when the FDA audits or a sponsor audits that you do well.
Sure. Okay.
Right?
Well, so what metrics is this guy proposing, this doctor? What metrics is he proposing they look at in order to incentivize sites and pay them accordingly.
Oh, he can talk for hours on this. So the podcast we're gonna focus on that.
Okay.
And I know the mic keeps cutting in and out. My laptop does not like any meeting. When it does that, I pause because I can see it, and then so you won't miss anything. Don't worry. Okay, we've got another.
On demand. On cue.
We got another question on cue. Is it wiser to have a main office and then manage the sites at the site? For example, IP delivery, budget, CTA at address A, and
like an SMO.
15 PIs working at their facilities with the CRF binders, lab kits, IP at the site. Well, Chris, what do you think about this?
That sounds like an SMO.
Is it wiser? I don't think it's wiser or unwiser. I think whatever works for you is what you should focus on.
I think more importantly, it's what works for the sponsors and CROs.
That's ultimately what matters, right? And it's I guess that matters. And necessity, like, are you doing it just because, or are you doing it for a reason? And if you're doing it for a reason, then yeah, it makes sense to do that. It'd be wiser.
So long as it doesn't limit your inflow of studies.
Right. So there is no better strategy. It's whatever works. Everybody's unique. Every PI, every staff, every clinic. It's a different setup. So, their argument is some sites don't have the space. What would be wisest at that point is to have like a big site. We're going to get into that. And then have all those PIs come to you and get their patient databases from each of those 15 sites combined into your database so you can do everything there. Or keep doing it the way you're doing it, because if it's working, then don't fix it.
Yeah, but you have HIPAA problems there.
You can. You don't necessarily have to.
Yeah.
If you have someone from the doctor's office working at your clinic just for that purpose, then you don't have HIPAA problems.
So what works best, right, in terms of selling your site to a sponsor and enrolling? Typically, it's working at a clinic, right? A standalone clinic, right? Doctors there /PI. They have a database right there. It's visible to any CRA that walks in the lobby. That's typically what works best, right? Would you not agree with that?
I mean, yes, but it's not. It's not.
No, it's not the only way, of course.
And who's to say what's best? I mean, what's best is what works best for the PI and the staff.
Sure.
And the owner.
Sure.
And then what are you trying to accomplish, like long run? Are you trying to sell your clinic to another clinic? Are you trying to get acquired? Are you just trying to maximize profits? All those things factor in.
And I may be jumping way ahead, but unless you're a large research clinic, right, large, and you have a well-established reputation, it's hard sometimes to sell to a sponsor that you can get the patients when you're not seeing patients at this facility. Right? So if you're a small research site, it can sometimes be difficult to sell that, yes, we have a patient database. Yes, we do not see patients here, but we do have a patient database, and the patients come here. It's much easier to sell that when you have a freestanding clinic. The doctor /PI has their own clinic in which the patients come there to see that doctor, not for research, just to see them.
Yeah.
In their practice. It's easier to sell.
So this person's attempting to grow and manage more sites. Yeah. So then that would make sense, right? That would make sense for you to have the hub and spoke model, like have a central place, but then have all these ancillary sites, right? So business models and site dynamics will depend on whether the site intends to grow or simply maintain their current size. It's all about what you're trying to accomplish long term.
I want to add one more thing to that. So this person is establishing an SMO. So we're not sure how the industry feels about SMOs at this point.
They're starting to like them again.
Maybe.
CROs are the new SMO.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay. Let's talk about scale, shall we? This is the next slide. Small sites. Here's your answer. Let's see if I was right. Small sites, 1 to 10 studies, 1 to 2 coordinators, 1 to 2 PIs. So basically, all the sites you and I own are in this category.
Sure.
Right? I used to have a medium site. 1.
Right.
Because we did like 12, 13 at one point, and we had like 5 or 6. Right? So I have experience, and so do you, with small and medium.
Right.
We don't have direct experience with large sites. We know people. We have clients that are large sites.
Sure.
We network with people. We meet them at conferences, even universities, right? I once had a dream to own a large site, but I realized for me, it was much easier, and for me, it was more scalable and safer. And I'm all about multiple streams of revenue. For me, it was safer to have a bunch of small and medium-sized sites that don't depend on one another, but that all provide me or have the capability of providing me a separate stream of income. That was my goal. Doesn't mean I'm right or I'm smart or I made the right choice, and the people whose goal it is to have a large site are wrong.
Sure.
I mean, there is no right or wrong. It's what the owner is comfortable doing and what they choose to do. And by the way, if you go down one of these paths, you can always pivot. I was going on the path of creating a large site.
Sure.
With my medium, I wanted to get it to the large. And then I realized it was just easier to open up smaller sites.
The same could be said for small sites. I'm sure if you just follow these numbers strictly, there's years in which a small site would be considered a medium site, in which one year they have 13 trials.
Right.
So for a year or two, they're a medium site.
We got a question. Is this per year or at one time? This is per year or at one time. It's the same thing. Now, it doesn't mean all 10 of those studies are recruiting either. Some could be in maintenance. Some could be waiting to be closed out. So this is like just to give you a macro overview of the scale that I'm talking about. Okay. So small sites, this is where me and Chris make our living. This is where most of our clients fit in. And then the goal for these sites is to either remain small, because that's what they want to do, create clones of themselves, make other small sites like it sounds like this person's doing, or evolve into medium and evolve into large. It's whatever works for you is what you should do. So small sites, dynamics, and character. Aren't these great slides by Amy?
They always are.
She's amazing at slides.
Amazing.
Okay, so small sites, dynamics, and characteristics. Roles and responsibilities. The coordinator is usually responsible for all aspects of the study, including patient visits, recruitment, regulatory, etc. This is the typical dynamic. This is the typical dynamic at a small site. Okay, growth. Starting with one coordinator as a small site reaches 3 to 4 studies, it is best to hire a research assistant to later train and groom to become a coordinator as the site grows. Again, these are best practices from the experiences of myself and Chris and others. The owners. Owners should constantly be working on biz dev and communicating with coordinators. You can work on biz dev by outsourcing that to us too. We do this for clients all the time. Like I said, most of them are small sites. Communication. It's important for owners at this level to communicate openly with coordinators about their long-term goals to anticipate if/when they may need to be replaced. Okay. Yes, I know the voice drops out for a second or two every 1 to 2 minutes. I pause when that happens, and I continue so you don't miss anything. Sorry about that. Next time we got to use Chris's laptop. Workload. It's important not to overwork the coordinator or push too much responsibility onto coordinators, as this tends to happen with smaller sites.
Right?
Great.
Sure.
An expansion. Some sites start off small and try to expand, while others look to maintain a steady number of studies in order to stay small. Again, there is no right or wrong. It's what you want to accomplish. There is no blueprint or model to follow. They all can work. And variations of this can work. And by the way, you can have one company, like an LLC, that is a large site, and then you can open up a bunch of smaller LLCs that own different small sites. Nothing's stopping you from doing that.
Sure.
Right? I hopped on the meeting late. Are y'all sharing these slides after? Yes. Yes and yes and yes. Yes, 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 yes. Inside joke. The recording is going to be shared. Not only that, it's going to be on iTunes, on podcast. Everyone needs to subscribe to Random Musings from the Clinical Trials Guru, also on YouTube. And if you registered for this webinar, you will get this replay sent to you. You don't even need to wait for YouTube, right? Small sites, the chain of command. Let's see what this pyramid looks like. Owners are at the top, okay, as they should be.
I don't know about that.
I don't know either. Let me read and see if it makes sense.
Really, the owner and the owner and the PI are about comparable in terms of the way the sponsor would look at them.
I get it though. Why the coordinators on the bottom? They're the foundation.
Sure.
Okay, so owners are responsible for hiring and managing coordinators and PIs and sub-Is. They're also in charge of business development and study acquisition. I would add to that, the owners are responsible for everything, including when you can't make payroll, you need to dip into your own savings to pay your staff.
Sure.
I've had to do that, unfortunately, several times. Not a good feeling, and I'm always optimistic.
Thankfully, it's been many years since that's had to have occurred.
Yes.
Many.
Thank God.
All right.
Yes, but that illustrates the responsibilities you take as the coordinator. It's everything. If you can't handle that, you shouldn't be in business, right? PIs and sub-Is, they see patients, oversee patient safety oversight.
It's like the 30th time.
They oversee patient safety and oversight for all the studies. Research coordinators. Coordinators do the bulk of the work. They're the foundation. They handle all the patient visits, regulatory, recruitment, data entry, etc. This is the small site. Okay.
Right.
Let's get to medium sites. I've owned one medium site. Only one? Would you say Breakthrough at one point was a medium site?
Sure.
Okay, so two. I've owned two. I like medium sites. I think small and medium, for me, there really is no difference. It's just more of the same.
Sure.
Obviously, it's easier to start with a small site. That's where most do.
Well, yeah, you have to start somewhere, and you're going to have one trial, right?
Right, unless you acquire. I talked to a few people this week that are looking to purchase medium-sized sites. So you might start out with a medium-sized site, but I think the fundamentals are the same here.
But you try to persuade them not to do so, right?
It depends. Everything depends. It depends on the numbers. It depends on how dependent they are on the PIs.
I'm strongly against buying sites.
So am I, because we know how to do it from scratch.
Sure, but you're so dependent upon the labor, right? I mean, that's really all you're buying, unless you're buying the building as well. You're buying...
Right, and most sites don't own their own real estate, which we should dedicate an entire webinar to real estate and clinical research.
Sure.
It's never been done. It's very important. Nobody talks about it. We've done it.
Sure.
That's our goal. We're going to have a lunch meeting with someone else. We're starting a site in Atlanta. The goal is to buy real estate.
Right.
Right.
But getting back to my point, you're only buying the labor. That's what you're paying for. And if for whatever reason that labor doesn't care for you,
not only that, no, you're also paying for the PI's brand name. Okay.
You're buying the labor.
Yeah.
So I mean, if your PI walks away, what do you have? You have nothing. right?
Exactly.
Say you buy a site with 4 PIs, and all 4 PIs, for whatever reason, don't like you.
And people think that in this industry, you can, like other industries, you can lock someone up in a contract. That's not the case in research.
No.
It's not like real estate where a contract is honored. Like in research, if you have a contract between you and your PI, that doesn't mean anything. Your PI can contact the sponsor directly and cut you out of the picture at any time.
I will contradict.
You do have legal recourse, but who wants to spend $200,000 to sue someone when that's the entire gross study budget sometimes?
Now, typically, especially at small sites, the studies, the sponsors, the CROs, they follow the PI, right? But I would say if you're a well-established medium or large site, you might have developed a reputation where they come to you with studies too. Mm-hmm. It's not just the PI.
If you're a preferred site,
right,
the sponsors come to you.
Right. That's not going to be true at small sites, I don't think, for the most part.
Well,
for the most part.
For our 2 small sites right now, we have a sponsor that keeps coming back to us.
Sure. But I still think if the PI walked away, they wouldn't. I shouldn't say they wouldn't. I think it would be less likely. It would be a risk.
Right. And by the way, our site in Costa Mesa,
mm-hmm.
It's a small site. It's been a small site since we started 4 years ago.
Right.
Next year, it might transition to a medium-sized site.
Sure.
Right. So we're going to have a lot of content. I've done that transition before, but it's been a while. So we're going to have a lot of new content for this transitioning.
Right.
Okay, owners have more staff at the medium-sized sites to manage and oversee. It gets more complicated, basically. At this point, I guess the biggest difference to me between small sites and medium sites from an owner perspective is at a small site, culture doesn't really matter, the company culture. Because it's only you, a PI, and a coordinator. So
culture still matters.
Of course it matters. You can't have a criminal or like a lunatic in any one of those 3 positions.
Sure.
But most people are not. So culture does not matter. And medium-sized sites, it starts to get important. And this will determine whether it may have been better off for you to remain small with a good culture than a medium with a bad culture.
Well, it's simple. It's a sports analogy, right? It's a team effort. Even in a small site, it's a team effort, right? Just there's less going on, right? So the larger you get, the more that's going on, the more pieces that are moving.
Mm-hmm.
It's more of a team effort.
Culture matters at this point.
Right.
It also becomes more difficult to manage and communicate closely with all employees with the increased size. Right? And the problem here is it's not big enough yet to like bring on a real manager. So the owner is still doing this.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Workload is about the same. It's just divided amongst more people. And expansion could be, the goal now could be let's replicate this and make another small and then medium-sized site, or let's try to get into becoming a large site. Is my company a TMO, trial management organization, or CRO? We are a CRO. We are also site owners, and we also do consulting, biz dev, for a network of sites across the country, which we can do for you too, including negotiating your budgets as part of that. So we do a little bit of everything. Trial management organization. I don't really even know what that really means. I've heard of it. I don't know what the difference between a TMO and an SMO is, and I don't think anyone does. And I think everyone's definitions of these things are different at some point.
Fair enough.
All right, let's get into the large sites. Oh, no, still medium-sized sites. And what happened with Amy's slide? It cut off at the top here. Medium sites, the chain of command. Wow, we got another layer. You see this? We just added a layer.
Miscellaneous staff, and now they're the foundation.
Yeah, well, I still think the coordinators are the foundation, but maybe that analogy is wrong. But these are the ingredients now, okay? You still have the owners at the top. PIs, same responsibilities here. Coordinators, you just have more of them now. But now you have some miscellaneous staff, right? Patient recruiters, maybe data entry people, lab assistants,
regulatory.
like you're trying to streamline everything, study supply management and other tasks. So you're trying to streamline, and you can scale more, but your margins go down a little, but maybe your net take home could be more if you make it efficient, right? And now let's get into large or mega sites. The main difference between medium and mega sites, there's now someone that is not the owner, that's a manager. Or it could be the owner, but every mega site I know, the owner at this point hired a manager to actually run the clinic.
That's probably true of medium sites as well, though.
Having a manager? That could, yeah, I think you start seeing that in the medium sites, but it's like, it becomes definitive at the mega site or the large sites.
It's necessary.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Again, I think it's typically necessary in medium as well, but sure, the owner still can handle it.
Yes, especially at this point, if you own a mega site, you're going to conference at least once a month.
Right.
You're networking, like you're not necessarily.
Your time spent doing other
yes, your time is spent growing the business rather than managing and working in the trenches.
Right. And
you usually hire either a site director, a CEO, or some manager to oversee all this stuff.
Sure.
Okay. We've never owned a mega site, but and by the way, hospitals and academic institutions, it's the same thing, except there's no owner in those cases. It's more of a board of directors. Right. So that's the mega site. Here's the chain of command here. You have now a site director that reports to the owner. And then you have the PIs. I guess this is who reports to who from the bottom up. That makes sense with Amy. Hey, the owners are at the top. Site director, manager reports to the owners. The PIs report to the site managers. The coordinators report to the PIs, and the miscellaneous staff report to the coordinators. That makes sense.
And the coordinators are reporting to both the PIs and the site directors.
Yeah, coordinators are still doing everything. Now, in this situation, culture is extremely important, especially because you've got this manager who is more likely not an entrepreneur like the founders were and are. So this is an employee. This person, there's a lot of dynamics and politics that can play here. This person, the site director, you got to be very careful who you hire because the culture will actually stem from them. So are they someone that's just trying to protect their job? And what do people do when they protect their jobs? They hire average employees rather than great ones, because great employees will point out what's wrong with you.
But can you incentivize around that? By saying you need 10% profits? 5% profits?
Sure, but
they'd be more inclined to hire.
But what if they're perfectly content with their base salary and they just don't want to rock the boat and they don't want more work?
Then maybe at your interview you need to find out, where are they comfortable, right?
Right.
Oh, you're comfortable at $100,000 a year? Okay, you're going to get 75 and 5%.
Mm-hmm.
You need that 100,000, then we better see some profits.
Then it is time to let them go, they said. Yes, it is. That's when the owners need to check back in, serve as a temporary site director, manager, until they bring in someone else.
But we do know a lot of these mega sites, well, not a lot, but a few, and usually most of the owners are kind of checked out, aren't they?
Yeah, they're checked out. Some of these mega sites have already sold to like a bigger corporation, and the owners are just getting their last couple of years of pay, right, for the buyout, but they're checked out. So this is why opportunity always presents itself for the small and medium-sized sites.
Sure.
Because what got these mega sites successful is not what's going to continue to keep them successful. You got to change. That's why there's always opportunity.
It's like Rocky 3, you got to have the eye of the tiger.
That or like Netflix Blockbuster. Yeah, Rocky's amazing. Just came back from Philly. I saw the Rocky statue.
Oh yeah, I was going to ask you about that. I forgot. Did you go up the stairs?
Yes, I went up the stairs, but the Rocky statue's not on the top of the stairs.
It's like midway or what?
No, it's in the bottom.
Oh, well,
it's at the base, like off to the side.
They should have to make everybody be a Rocky and go up those stairs to get to the statue.
Oh, people run there.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
There's a lot of stairs. I mean, it looks like
it's a lot of stairs.
Yeah.
It's on my Snapchat and my Instagram.
Okay.
Everyone go follow me there too. So true, especially with the owner changeover and the new owner is clueless. Yes. A lot of opportunities though, right? That creates tons of opportunities for everyone. Any questions? We will wait patiently for a couple minutes. Send in your questions now.
Yeah, we'll stay as long as there's questions coming.
Not as long. Well, okay, we will, but I'm getting hungry. So
okay, we'll stay for up to 20 minutes.
We have a meeting with
at 1 o'clock.
A new site that we're going to actually be co-owners on.
Right.
In Atlanta. She's going to start out obviously as a small site, but her goal is to become a mega site.
Right.
So we're going to actually redo this conversation, but we'll integrate some real estate into it at lunch.
Mm-hmm.
So Chris and I are not done talking about this. We're just done talking about it to you guys. Right? Unless there's questions, then we'll continue to stay on. Give them the pitch while people type questions.
I already gave the pitch. Your turn.
We do, for $1,000 a month, we do business development for you, which means finding studies for you, doing the feasibilities for you, negotiating the contracts and budgets for you, helping you with your SOPs, helping you with your source, helping you with any issues you may have in your day-to-day operations. We do not charge any other fees other than $1,000 a month. That's it. You're not locked into any contract. It's month to month. We do negotiate your contract and budget as part of it. Even if we didn't get you the study and you have a contract and budget you want us to negotiate, we will negotiate that budget as well and provide all the services.
All the other services.
And service that study for you as well. We're here. Think of us as your biz dev outsourced people. And we have a team of people. It's not just me and Chris. And also service the study. So creating source docs as an example. Helping you with issues.
Answering questions.
Particular protocol. Helping resolve problems. Everything. Think of us as an employee that you don't have to worry about a payroll for.
Well, you do, but it's not much.
$1,000 a month, but you don't have to worry about workers' comp and any of that stuff.
This is very true.
If Chris and I trip and fall, that's on us.
Yep.
Right? Anything else? Is that a good pitch?
One last thing, all those services are a la carte. So if you choose not to use one or two things, that's up to you.
Do you invoice? I'm assuming they mean, do we invoice for screen failures on behalf of that site?
So no, we're not keeping your books. That's more of keeping your books. However, if you're new to this, we certainly will walk you through how to do this and what needs to be invoiced for.
Okay, it's not 100; it's 1,000 a month. Yes, 1,000 a month. We do all of that. Yeah, email me. I put my email in here, so email me, and I will send you all the flyers and stuff. I see another question, but it's not popping up. Okay, yeah. Schedule it. And when will you have a webinar in regards to contracts and budgets? We already did, Nicole. We already did, Nicole, but I will stay on the line. I will send you the link to it now from YouTube so that you can have it here and everyone else can have it here that is on the live webinar. So let me find it. Negotiating Contracts and Budgets webinar. Let's say you're not. Okay, that's the video. Here's the link to the contract and budget webinar. Okay, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you follow on Instagram. Yeah, Sasha, everyone has it here. This is the link. Okay, we'll keep this open a little longer so you can all click on it. Okay. If you want to watch all the webinars, you go to my YouTube channel and there's a tab on my channel that says playlists. Okay, and there you have a webinar playlist. So far there's 13, and we're gonna add this one, so it's gonna be 14.
Oh, we've been doing this for over a year now?
Yeah, I think we started in August of last year.
It's not seem time just flies.
And we did many webinars prior to these, but
Yeah,
these are like the professional ones.
And the monthly, where we do one a month.
Yeah, we used to do Google Hangouts. Those are like informal.
Right.
These are more professional with like slides from Amy.
Well done slides.
I couldn't put the slide together. I mean, if I spent like a week, I couldn't do this.
I'm sure you could.
No, I couldn't.
I'm sure you could.
How about any info on permits that are needed to start a small site? Yes. CLIA waivers, like IATA. We help you with all this. When you join us as a client, you get a welcome letter. It's about 4 pages. It has links to everything you need. It has all of our staff contact info on there. You can call, email, all of us. We all get back to you. Client retention is extremely important to us because that's how we're going to scale our business, is to make sure you guys are successful. And then we're going to start integrating all this stuff with a conference. I don't want to jinx it, but there might be a huge conference every year in October from us.
Well, I don't know about October, but once a year.
Once a year. The next one's going to be October 2019.
Right.
If we can get the funding on Kickstarter. So if you're subscribed to the email, as soon as the Kickstarter campaign goes live, I'm going to send you that link to support the conference, and you get tons of value by being an early supporter. There's all kinds of perks and rewards. I'm literally taking the entire month of December and January to service these perks that I'm giving people.
And I've already told you you're crazy, but hey, you don't want to listen to me.
Yeah, so stay tuned for the Kickstarter conference page. Anything else? Anything else at all?
Not by me.
Give him the pitch again.
No,
while we wait for questions.
Did it like 3 minutes ago.
Yeah, I know. We're just waiting for people to chat. If that's it, we will be done. Let's go for 1 more minute for questions, and if nothing, then we will end it. And stay tuned for yeah, I answered that one already.
No.
Place me on your calendar for 15 October 2018. Yes, this is being recorded. This is being recorded. It will be you will get, if you registered for this, you will get an email with the replay link. Do you generally favor equity partnerships for longevity of cooperation with PIs?
Depends.
It depends. And Berta, just send me an email and I'll get you on the calendar. Okay. Send me an email with a date and time that you want, and we'll make it happen. Andrew, do you generally favor equity partnerships for longevity of cooperation with PIs? Andrew, this is a webinar in and of itself. I think there's a lot of ways that you can, I should have put this, handcuff a PI to you with real estate.
The simplest way is to partner with them.
If they're good.
Yeah, if they're good, if you get along.
If they're not good, and you don't get along, like, you should not do that.
Right.
It's like a marriage. You're not just going to marry someone off a blind date.
Well, some do, and typically doesn't work out.
The best thing would be, let's start a small site with this PI as an independent contractor. Pay him or her more than fair. And if they like the arrangement,
at
and
least fair. I don't know about more than fair, but fair.
If it's their office and their patients,
fair.
Fair, okay. And if you like them and they like you and they like research and they demonstrate that they can be a good PI, then yeah, it would make sense to do equity partnership. That's what we've done many times.
Mm-hmm.
What we continue to do many times. We also do equity partnerships with experienced coordinators.
But that's not the only way we work with PIs.
This lunch meeting we're going to have in 10 minutes is with an experienced coordinator.
Sure.
We're doing equity partnership.
But again, that's not the only way to do it. It's like you described. You don't have to be a partner. You can just pay them a percentage of the budget or whatever way you agree upon paying.
What is an equity partnership? It's when you become an owner of the LLC.
It's when
or S Corp.
It's when you're both owners.
Yes.
You and the PI.
That means you have equity in the company. You're not just an independent contractor. You are a business owner with this other person now.
Or persons.
Or persons. What would you consider an experienced coordinator? 2 years. 2 years or more. Chris has 3. If you fit that inclusion criteria, email me. Okay. We can talk. We love experienced coordinators. FYI, some of the banter got old and seems unprofessional. Just one opinion. Well, sorry about that. This webinar actually ended. We're just answering questions at this point. Someone doesn't like the banter. That's okay. Will do. What type of equity percentage would you pay a PI? It honestly depends. So what I would pay a PI as far as equity percentage is probably dependent on what they have to offer. So are we leveraging their clinic? Are we using their office space? Are we using some of their support staff? Are we using some of their patients? Those things all factor in. I never give more than 50%, and sometimes they get a lot less if they provide a lot less. So that's my answer there. That is my answer there. Can you maintain separate LLC in an equity partnership? Can you maintain separate LLC in an equity partnership? Do you understand this one? Can you maintain a separate LLC in an equity partnership?
Sure. Maybe what they're saying is take ownership, right? So you have basically 2 LLCs. You have the LLC with the physician, right?
Mm-hmm.
And your percentage of ownership is taken with another LLC.
Oh, yeah, we do that all the time.
I think that's what they're saying.
We own, yes. So, and with an LLC, you can own member shares in another LLC. With the S Corp, you need an individual has to be a shareholder. But for LLCs, you can own equity in that LLC through another LLC. We actually do that all the time. For private practice sites that have been functioning on their own with an older CRC, plus 50 years, wanting to take their site to the next level, what would you advise? Starting off in a small consulting role, jumping in full-time on payroll, towards the site director, manager, CEO level of the site. I think I have to read this one again to understand it. For private practice sites that have been functioning on their own with an older CRC, wanting to take their site to the next level, what would you advise? Starting off in a small consulting role, jumping in full-time on payroll, towards the site director. Yeah, I would do independent contractor first, and then maybe payroll or some kind of incentives. I would say let's talk, because every situation is different. So shoot me an email. I'm going to put my email in here again. and we can probably talk about your particular situation. What's the best way to train a research naive CRC? I would say it's our CRA Academy, which is also a CRC Academy in disguise. If without that, you would have them shadow you or an experienced coordinator as a research assistant, which is something I'm doing at one of my clinics right now. And the expectation would be in 3 to 6 months, they can actually be a coordinator on their own. If you need coordinators, I have a few, more than 150 all over the US. Yeah, see, this is another reason why we want to do this conference, so we can network with everybody. Let's see, only a drop in once in a while. Research naive, yeah. PI has his or her own LLC, and your company has her LLC to run the studies at the site. Yeah, you can do that. That could either be a joint venture, or that can be you guys create a third LLC, and each of your LLCs owns a percentage of that new LLC. That's the way to do it. She's here? Okay. Let's talk, please. Yeah, Daniel, email me. So we can set up a time to talk. I put my email there, and Berta, the CRC Academy is here. The CRA Academy. All right. Anything else? We gotta go.
Yes, we do.
Email sent. Thanks so much. Okay, I'll get back to everyone's email. I see it across my desk now. And thank you, everybody, for sticking around and bearing with the mic that goes in and out, as well as for all the Q&A sessions. And we'll talk to y'all later. Take care.